gentlemen seen your midterm grades yet?
Well, they're not posted yet, sir.
2 C's, 2 D's, and an F. That's a 1.2 grade average. Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
This is WICR.
From the basement of La Penza, this is your host, The Rock is on this Thursday, October 13th, 2016. Lost track of the date there a little, but I managed. We have a lot to get to. We got football. We got baseball playoffs coming. Divisional series wrapping up. And we have a lot of good, bad, and ugly to talk about. But you know what, folks? I'm going to talk about the bad first, so that way we can just get it out of the way. And I have a lot that I want to just get off my chest. And I'm just going to start with the local football teams. And you know what? The woes continue for both the Jets and the Giants. But I'm going to start off with the Jets first because obviously that's the problem. They have major issues on their hands or that they have to face. One way how I describe. Now, if somebody were to ask me, how would you describe this Jets season? I would say there's a lot of words that I would say it, and I'm not going to say it on the air, because I think some of you guys would know what words they are. But if I had to relate the Jets, or I had to say something about the Jets this coming year, I would say this. This is the song that never ends. It goes on and on, my friends. And you know what? And what we saw on Sunday against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh at Heinz Field, it was the same old song that never ends, and it was the same continual problems that the Jets have. And that is secondary giving up deep plays, offense being stagnant, despite them playing well in the first half, and just poor, undecisive, and in a way, clueless decisions by the coaching staff and Todd Bowles. Just flat out clueless. Now, where am I going to start with this mess? I guess you got to start with the secondary again, and I sound like a broken record over and over and over again. This secondary, I'm sorry, but you know what? They had expectations going in, and it's not a talent issue. This secondary is just overrated. There's no way, you can't sugarcoat it. This secondary is overrated. Flat out overrated. And it's kind of odd in a way because the Jets didn't get any new players in their secondary. It's not rookies. It's not guys who were just drafted coming into the league, getting adapted from college to the NFL and the pros. It's not that. It's the same personnel. It's the same guys who were here last year who did a solid job. You got to think it's just a lack. It's always a lack of communication. It's always a lack of communication with the Jets in their secondary. Because on the third, because I think it's a big problem when you give up. Looking at the stats, when you give up 9 plays over 40 yards or more, or 9 passing plays which result in 40 yards or more, and then on Sunday, on the third Steeler offensive play, you give up a 72-yard touchdown to a guy named Sammy Coates, who no one's ever even heard of, and he wound up having a good game too. He finished with 6 catches, 139 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And then not to mention that 5 of those, he dropped 5 passes, so he could have had multiple touchdowns and over 200 receiving yards. So Sammy Coates had a day. It's one thing when an elite wide receiver beats you or just single-handedly destroys a defense or a secondary, but then when you have guys just who are no names, guys who just come out of nowhere, guys who teams just come off the street and said, "Hey, you want to play some football for us? We'll pay you," and they beat you. It's pathetic. It really is pathetic. There's no way to describe it. You can't always I can't. You can't always rely on your personnel. You know what? You can't. You gotta. It's just ridiculous. I'm baffled. I'm at a loss of words. I can't even describe it. And you know what's just even more frustrating? It's like every week it's the same garbage. Same garbage with the Jets and their secondary. And it's kind of ironic because Todd Bowles is a coach, or when he was a player, he was a cornerback and safety. He played cornerback and safety in the NFL. That's his strength. That's what Todd Bowles is. That's what he's known for. He's a defensive-minded coach, but you know what? His strength is the secondary, and so far this secondary has underachieved mightily. And they're not even remotely close of being average. And then you throw in the fact that you're paying Darrelle Revis, what, 14, 15 million a year, and he's banged up and he's getting burned every Sunday. You know, as a fan, and some of you may know, I still have faith. I try to keep faith with this team, but it's like each week with the losses and they keep piling up, I just begin to lose hope and faith at the same time, and just steadily decreases and steadily declines. You know, and this Jets season, it hit the iceberg. It's sinking, and it's sinking real fast. Now, at 1-4, you can somewhat salvage the season and save your season. You know, you pile up 2-3 straight wins, you get some momentum going. That's a possibility. Or you know what? You can just throw in the towel and say, screw it. Play for next year. Play for a top 10 pick. You know, and this is a big game for the Jets. You know, I've been saying this for the last 2 weeks, but honestly, their season's on the brink right now. It's on the brink. You're 1-4. You lost 3 straight. You're playing terrible on offense. Despite the first half performance last week in Pittsburgh, you know, they were stagnant in the second half. But overall, you've been terrible on offense, other than one game, and that was the game you won. You know, constantly turning the ball over, defense giving up big plays, pass rush, which was, you know, the anchor for this defense, and was so prolific in the first game. You know, it's inconsistent. So what are the Jets going to do? How will they perform on Monday against the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona? Because like I said, their season's on the brink. Because, you know, when you're at 5 losses this early in the season, your only chance to even making the playoffs or even sniffing the playoffs or having it or just giving yourself a chance or giving yourself an opportunity, you got to win, you got to go 9-1 or even run the table. That's how much room you have. That's how much room the Jets gave themselves. They didn't give themselves any leeway. Now, if they were 2-3 or 3-2, they have some leeway. They could have. I wouldn't say you know. Obviously, you have to win the game. They could have said, you know what? If we lose these games, we can still manage to save our season, and then come December or come Thanksgiving, early December, we can be in a playoff chase. But you know, when you start off 1-4, and then if you in what some people are saying, maybe even 1-5, you put yourself really behind the 8 ball. You do. Now, I'm not saying the Jets can't run the table. It's just highly unlikely. Because you know what? Winning in the NFL is difficult. And especially if you're trying to win on a consistent basis, it's difficult. Because in the NFL, these are the best of the best. These guys are the best of the best in what they do. They're strong, they're athletic, they're versatile, and they're big. Now, I'm going to give another example. Let's say the Jets do go 1-5, or start off 1-5, and they lose to the Cardinals on Monday night. Then they have 4 easy games They have 4, I wouldn't say easy, but winnable games. Games that they could have a chance to win in the fourth quarter. Do you, and let's say they win their next 4 games and they're at 5-5. Do you still give the Jets a chance? Despite the fact they have to play New England twice and then a somewhat tough Indianapolis team? That has yet to be determined. But you know what? Ryan Fitzpatrick is on a thin leash, and Geno Smith and Bryce Petty and maybe even Christian Hackenberg may get some snaps this year if it does get ugly for this Jet team. And then you figure Todd Bowles is going to be on the hot seat come next year or the beginning of next year. If they don't save their season, the Jets have to win this game. You know, they just to be 2-4. It's not the best, but you know what? You're 2-4 with an easy schedule for the next coming games. You know, give yourself some breathing room. You know. And plus, Arizona hasn't been playing that well either. But you know, they looked awfully well against the 49ers last Thursday night. Now, granted, it was the 49ers, and they're not that good of a team, but still, they're slowly becoming the Cardinals or the team that we thought they were. They are who we thought they were, Dennis Green. And that concludes our first segment of The Rock is On.